Okay, before I take leave of you again until next weekend, Space 1999. The last episode, as you recall, I said was not that bad. There were certain elements of it that's just typical of Space 1999, of course, the premise of the moon and all that. But here we get one that almost lured me in. First of all, some of the problems with the production quality for its time, for a lot of it, is very, very good. But then it becomes obvious they didn't have that budget or what have you, and it doesn't gel. When you have this footage that you can use over and over and repurpose it, that's shot very well, it's quite jarring to see it spliced together with stuff that's just not that good. So in this episode, there's quite a bit of their shuttlecraft, the Eagles, they call them. And there's a landing scene that, yeah, you look at it and you can tell that that's models, but for the most part, it works and it's good. And there's like this mist on the ground. They're landing into a jungle, but the mist becomes a significant part of the overall plot of the show. So it's fine. And there's some scenes of them flying over the jungle and this sort of thing. It looks pretty good. All of that's well and good. There's a little bit of a mystery. A crew went to investigate this planet, and the shots of the planet are very good. It's an Earth-like planet, but it looks very good with the orbital scenes and everything they do. So that's all good stuff. And so the first crew went, and they couldn't find him. They're trying to make contact with him, and they don't get an answer. They go to investigate. They find the shuttle. They board it, and there's no one there except for one man, and it's a caveman. And it's a rather embarrassing shot. The guy's nether regions. But he's laying on the floor, and they're like, well, what's this about? They take him back to the Alpha base, and the secondary crew with Koenig and Dr. Russell, and they go looking for people. And they go into the jungle, and then they turn up missing. And then third crush. You'd think they would understand what the problem is. And this time the character Sandra, who normally doesn't go on these field missions, and they have her on there. I forget why exactly. I can't remember, because she's not crazy about it. She's I think she's more of a clerical officer and doesn't do any of this adventure stuff. So she's a bit nervous and whatnot. And she mostly stays on the ship. But it turns out they're being spied upon by these cave people. And what's his name? Carter or what have you. He goes out to investigate and falls into a trap. He's in a pit. They fight with him and they knock him out, and they discover his communicator device. I don't know what their word for it is, but there's a little screen on it and you can see who you're talking to. And so Sandra tries to make contact with him, and the caveman sees her, and of course he's in love. So eventually he finds her in the ship, and then, like cavemen do, well, he just knocks her out and takes her away over his shoulder and brings her back to the cave. There's a fight. The apparent chieftain decides to claim this woman for himself. And he humbles the other guy and puts her away in a little part of the cave there. And then she gets a good look at him, the chieftain, and one of the other women, and she starts to see the faces of Commander Koenig and Dr. Russell. And she's like, what the hell's this? And she starts, oh my God, have they become cavemen, and will I become too, or something like that? And so it's this mysterious thing of, what's this about? You get lost in the woods and they go native, but they're like, they have long hair and their beards and everything. And Dr. Russell, her hair is no longer blonde, so I guess her roots grew out or whatever. I don't know. I think Barbara Bain was as a natural blonde. I can't remember. But anyway, so it's all rather mysterious. And like, well, what's this about? And then another rescue crew comes. And rather than go look, they decide to camp out and rest a while. After that, they figure, I guess we ought to go look for our crewmates. They find the cave. They see some of these people. And then the professor, what's his name? Anyway, the professor, he sees Koenig and he says, "Oh my God, it's John." And he got in a fight with one of the other guys, and Sandra, in order to escape. So they demand that she wear this leopard skin thing, and she does. I mean, the guy Koenig, the caveman Koenig, rips her clothes off and all this stuff. And in an attempt to escape, she bashes him in the head and leaves. And so they see him, and then there's a scuffle and a fight and all this stuff. And then they later find Koenig out in the jungle, and he's back to normal. He's in his uniform. He's badly injured, but he doesn't have the hair and the beard and all that. And they're like, "Oh, it's John." So they take him back to the ship, and this is where it falls apart. Ultimately, what happened is, if you go into this mist, you devolve into cave people, and you come out the other end of it, and you're in animal skins. You have long hair and a beard, and you can't talk, and you're rather bestial. And you go into that cave, and so all the cave people were all their crew members that they had lost, and that was it. It was all them, and and that's what you do. So eventually, they figure a way to trick the cavemen back into the mist and make them come out the other end just by guessing at it. And of course they come out the other end and they're all in their uniforms and everything's fine. So essentially, and then later the professor says, "Wow, it's too bad," because they had no memory of their experience as cavemen. And the only thing they remember was the last thing that happened to them before they went into the mist and all that. So the Morse is like, I think the guy's name is Morse, but that's the actor. But the professor, anyway, says, "Oh, it's too bad. Here you went through a time warp, and we have no one to really detail what happened." So it's just a time warp, but that doesn't explain the clothing and the skins and all of that. It could explain the time of where their appearance would be different as the years stretched, and it did something to them to devolve them into a caveman mentality and what have you. But essentially, it's just magic. So it's like, damn it, they almost had something, and then it stumbles into that, and well, let's hurry up, wrap it up, and go back to the moon base and leave. So other than that, the planet seemed to be pretty Earth-like. So I guess they just kept boogieing along and passed it by and decided not to settle on that one because, well, you got these time warps on that planet for some reason. And so you don't want to stumble into that again. So I guess that's the reason they didn't stay. And they did make mention that the moon was not within the gravitational pull of this planet, and they knew it would pass beyond its ability to hold it, but that still doesn't work overall because obviously the planet has a star and that gravitational force is more powerful. And so the moon, even if it didn't fall into the gravity well of that planet, it would certainly stay within that star system, I believe. So anyway, but that's the big flaw for overall of Space 1999. But here, it's too bad because they did have some good production quality. But the explanation needed a little more detail to how they get there. Other than that, they just wanted to see what's her face in her leopard print little bathing suit there. Maybe that's all it was. But you needed the time displacement to make it work, and it just saying it doesn't make it work because then how would they go back to their So it's a magical mist. It's just magic. So there's magic in Space 1999. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.